Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everybody. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Well, the Menendez trial is finally over. We've been commenting on this since Bob Menendez was indicted, and if you haven't heard by now, Bob Menendez was found guilty on all counts in his federal corruption trial. Federal prosecutors in New York accused Menendez of accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes, including cash, gold bars, and mortgage payments, in exchange for his political influence. The bribes were allegedly used to benefit New Jersey businessmen and foreign governments like Egypt and Qatar. The jury deliberated for 13 hours over 3 days before reaching a unanimous verdict. Menendez, who has served as New Jersey senator since 2006, pleaded not guilty to all 16 charges, including bribery, fraud, acting as a foreign agent, and obstruction. He maintains his innocence and plans to appeal the conviction, expressing his disappointment with the jury's decision. And that's where I think it's going to get interesting. The recent Supreme Court decision in the Snyder case could significantly impact Menendez's appeal. In that ruling, the court made it much more difficult to prove corruption charges, setting a high bar, or in the case of Menendez, maybe a high gold bar, for what constitutes bribery and official misconduct. Given this precedent, there's a good chance Menendez's conviction could be overturned on appeal, highlighting the problematic nature of the Snyder decision. Calls for Menendez's resignation have been swift, with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senator Cory Booker, and New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy all urging him to step down. If Menendez does resign or is expelled, a caretaker will be needed to fill his seat until a special election can be held. I imagine the governor would probably pick Andy Kim, but I think that would be a mistake for the voters because they're about to vote in this election. I think he should pick someone that is not on the ballot so as not to put his thumb on the scale. And on a really personal, political, pragmatic level, Andy Kim is the person that just beat Governor Murphy's wife. So I don't think he's going to be eager to give him a little bit of a leg up. Former acting governor Dick Cody would be an excellent choice for this role. Cody has the experience and the integrity to serve New Jersey and the country honorably during this turbulent time. As Menendez awaits sentencing, which could lead to decades in prison, the broader implications of this case remind us of the vital need for integrity and accountability in public office. The fight against corruption is essential to maintaining public trust and the rule of law.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Thank you for listening. Did you hear a loud boom yesterday? Well, apparently they're saying they think it was a meteor. Isn't it something that a meteor blazing through the New York City sky can barely turn heads in a metropolis like this? If this celestial event had happened in another city or state, it would dominate conversations for days or even weeks. But here in New York, it's just another blip in the city's nonstop symphony of activity. You just never know. Oh, one day it's an earthquake, the next day it's a meteor. Just yesterday, as the meteor streaked over the Statue of Liberty and exploded high above Midtown Manhattan, most New Yorkers did what they do best. They minded their own business. Sure, some residents in the outer boroughs and New Jersey heard a loud boom or saw a fireball, but in the heart of the city, it was just another day. Pat Battle from NBC News summed it up perfectly when she said she heard the noise but never thought to look up. That's the New York spirit for you. I'll be honest, I did the same thing. I was outside grilling and I heard the noise and I said, oh, I don't know what it is, but I'm sure I'll hear. This isn't the first unusual event New Yorkers have shrugged off recently. I mentioned the earthquake. We've also had an eclipse. We've had the criminal trial of a former president, all against the backdrop of an intense national political scene and the hottest year on record. Yet life goes on. Unflappable New Yorkers just keep moving forward. Some see these events as signs or harbingers of things to come, like Charbet Alberts in Brooklyn, who told the New York Times that after looking at the sky and thinking something's brewing, but others, like Bryant Grisham, visiting from Alabama, see it as random chance. After all, in a city like New York, randomness is part of the charm. Then there's Abdul Nadadi, a science fiction writer from the Boogie Down Bronx, who found the meteor reassuring in a strange way. With all the man-made chaos, a natural event like a meteor almost feels comforting. NASA assures us that this meteor posed no danger. It was too small to survive the journey to Earth, yet even with NASA's explanation, the mystery and wonder of the universe persist. We may not see meteors coming, but when they do arrive, they remind us of the incredible randomness of life. So while New Yorkers may seem indifferent to such cosmic events, I'll still keep an eye out for the next meteor because, hey, you never know what wonders the universe will bring our way next.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Folks, as the race for mayor of New York City heats up, one name floating around the rumor mill is Zohran Mamdani. Now, before we get swept away by the headlines, let's take a minute to consider why Mamdani might not be the best fit for the mayor's office. First, let's talk management and leadership. Being the mayor of New York City is not just about lofty ideals. It's about rolling up your sleeves and tackling the nitty-gritty of urban governance. We're talking about making sure the trash gets picked up, the streets are safe, and the fire department is ready to go out at a moment's notice. Mamdani, who is a socialist member of the State Assembly, and when I say he's a socialist member of the State Assembly, that's not me calling him a name. That's how he identifies. He's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. With his unabashed socialist agenda, he seems more focused on ideology than the practicalities of running a city. Arresting bad guys and putting out fires aren't exactly socialist talking points, but they are crucial to the day-to-day life of New Yorkers. Mamdani has made waves in the State Assembly, championing progressive causes and rallying his base, but running New York City requires a very different skill set, in my view. It's about pragmatic decision-making, often requiring a non-ideological approach. A good mayor has to be a good manager first and an ideologue second, if at all. Now, let's address the political strategy at play here. City and State broke this story about Mamdani running for mayor, and they broke a fascinating story about how left-wing interest groups might be orchestrating a multi-candidate run against Mayor Eric Adams. Normally, multiple candidates from the same faction would split the vote, handing victory to a more moderate contender. For instance, you wouldn't see both Brad Lander and Mamdani run. They would split the left-wing vote and allow Adams to slip in with a plurality. But with ranked choice voting, things get interesting. If all the progressive candidates tell their voters to rank Adams last, they could effectively pool their votes to push a single candidate past him. It's a clever strategy that could reshape the race. We have not seen anything like this before. Imagine the mayoral race turning into a game of Survivor, with candidates forming alliances to outlast Adams. It's politics at its finest and perhaps its most cynical. Let's not forget the core issue. We need a mayor who can manage the city effectively. Ideological purity is all well and good in the assembly, but the mayor's office is where ideology meets reality. And in reality, New Yorkers need a leader who can deal with the city's challenges head on without getting bogged down in political dogma.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to address the recent charges and the controversy over the recent charges against Kimberly Gotti and her daughter Gianna, the wife and daughter of John Jr. Gotti. Now, let me be clear. I know the Gotti family personally, including John Jr. and his wife Kim, and what we're seeing here is nothing short of a prosecutorial farce. Kimberly and Gianna Gotti were charged in connection with a brawl at a basketball game on Long Island back in February. According to reports, a man and a woman were shouting vulgarities at students during the game. When another parent asked them to stop, tensions escalated, and the Gotti women were accused of assaulting a 48-year-old woman. They now face a count of third-degree assault with intent to cause physical injury. But let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. If the prosecutors had anything resembling a strong case, they would have brought this to trial the moment the Gotti women rejected the plea deal. Instead, they've dragged their feet. And now the defense has filed a 150-page document arguing that this case should be tossed due to prosecutorial delay and withheld information about the alleged victim's prior criminal record. Apparently, the woman that was the supposed victim here had quite a lengthy rap sheet. The Gotti women rejected the plea deal because they knew they were innocent. Why plead guilty to something you didn't do? This is clearly a case where the Gotti name is more significant to the prosecution than any actual evidence. Let's be honest. If this weren't the Gotti family, would this case have received the same level of attention or the same aggressive prosecution? The answer, quite simply, is no. Kimberly and Gianna were attacked, and now they're being prosecuted not because of what they did, but because of who they are. This entire episode is a total waste of taxpayer resources. The Nassau County District Attorney's Office should be focusing on real crimes, not manufacturing charges to make headlines. The delay in bringing this case to trial speaks volumes about its weakness. If they had a solid case, we wouldn't be here months later, still waiting for a trial date. So let's get through the noise and see this for what it is. A baseless, vindictive prosecution aimed at the Gotti name. Kimberly and Gianna Gotti deserve justice, not a witch hunt. It's time to put an end to this charade and focus on real issues that matter to the people of Nassau County and of New York State.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Chicken tacos should only be trusted to chicken professionals.
That's where we come in. Introducing Zaxby's new chicken finger tacos. One comes with pico de gallo and creamy chipotle ranch. And the other comes with bacon, lettuce, tomato, and avocado ranch. Chicken experts since 1990. Chicken taco experts since now. Order yours today in the Zax Rewards app. Woo, saucy! Zaxby's.